What's up everybody, Flying Scorpion here, and in this video I'm going to answer the question, is Stellaris good in 2020? Well, I bought the game on, I think it was September 25th, so just over a month ago, and I am a little bit ashamed to say that I've put over 200 hours into the game since then, so I've been playing a lot of it, and so I think it's pretty obvious that I would say, yeah, it's good. It's a good game. I wouldn't have spent so much time playing it. I wouldn't have bought it if I didn't think it was good before I bought it. And I wouldn't be making a video about it if I didn't think it was good. I don't think I've made any videos about games that I think suck ever. And to give a little extra credit to Stellaris and all the games that I talk about, I don't really talk about very many video games on this channel. It's mostly been Warframe. Okay, it's mostly been Warframe. So I'm under the probably safe assumption that a good chunk of you watching this are Warframe players, or at least have at some point, because that is an extremely popular free-to-play game. So let's talk about the differences. First of all, Stellaris is not free-to-play. There is a price tag. It's like $44 Canadian, and it does go on sale sometimes, and when it goes on sale, it's a big sale. Sometimes it goes for 75% off on sale. That's what I bought it for, which is $11 Canadian. So that's a pretty good deal. In terms of hours of entertainment per dollar spent, I would say that you have the potential to get amazing, phenomenal value out of this game. Think about it. I got 200 hours in over the past month, and that doesn't include all the time I spent modding. I think I've spent the past 4 days just working on a mod for the game. So anyhow, I would recommend it, especially if it's on sale. Now let's talk a bit about this whole monetization model that they have going on. Let's just kind of zoom out for a second. DLC, it's been a contentious subject amongst the gaming community for several years. Occasionally you still see people under the belief, I would say, that DLC is a bad thing and that all games should be free to play, but unfortunately the free to play model doesn't work for all types of games that are out there. So Stellaris is cool because it has these bite-sized little chunks. The base game isn't particularly expensive. You can choose what you want to buy. So let's say, for example, if you're interested in having more story elements to your game, there's an expansion pack or a DLC specifically with more lore and like storyline missions and stuff that you can play through. If you're more interested in diplomacy and you want to have more types of diplomatic relations and interactions with the other empires, whether they be human players or artificial intelligence, there's a DLC for that. There's different species that you can download, and if there aren't no DLCs that give you what you're looking for, there are mods, and you can go out there, you can download mods, and if there's no mod that you want, well, you can write your own, which is something that I just did over the past 4 days. Let's talk about some of the issues of this game, the issues that can't really be resolved with mods, for example. One of the biggest issues, or one of the most, I guess I would say, common issues, is late game lag. Now the game doesn't seem to support multi-threading to the same degree that new games today that are being released have. I guess it depends on the game, but it only runs on a single core for the most part, if I understand correctly. It doesn't have the ability to fully utilize like a 4-core, a quad core, or an 8-core CPU type of thing. And so when you get to the late game, it can get laggy. And it can be unplayably laggy. I actually experienced it myself. And I don't have a very old PC. I think I have a Ryzen 3600 or something in there. I remember I upgraded just recently. I made a YouTube video about that. But anyway, there are solutions to dealing with the late game lag. You can reduce the size of your galaxy, or if you don't want to do that, you can keep your galaxy huge and reduce the number of habitable planets. If you reduce the amount of habitable planets, then that means there's less populations and buildings and immigration and stuff like that happening in your empire, and that can reduce lag. Another thing that you can do is reduce the time frame of the game from 300 years down to just 100 years, and this will reduce the complexity of the galaxy by the time you get to the end game. Or if you don't want to do any of that, you could just go around with a Death Star and blow up entire colonies And, you know, every colony that's gone is a lot of populations and buildings and stuff that's wiped clean from the board. So there are solutions to that. Another issue, one that I had in particular, was way too many pop-ups. There are tons of pop-ups in this game. I guess it depends on how big your empire is. I was taking over the entire galaxy, so I had lots of pop-ups, and I think that to some extent the developers intentionally designed this so that when you have a sprawling empire, it's an administrative burden on you as a player. Like, managing a huge empire is actually kind of like work. It is hard, and I didn't like doing it, to be honest with you, but I did it anyway because I wanted to achieve this goal of taking over the entire galaxy. I don't really recommend trying to do that, but here's something that you can do to really make it a lot more palatable if you do decide to do that. In the options setting, you can go to gameplay and you can turn off pop-ups and prevent pop-ups from pausing your game. This really helps keep the gameplay flowing when you have, like 3 pop-ups happening at once on your screen. It just alternates into notifications at the top of the screen. What's another issue that people have? Well, some people have issues with the artificial intelligence. They don't think it's very good. I personally haven't had any major gripes with it, but it does look like the developers are working on it. And they're also working on the late game lag. They seem to be focusing on trying to address these issues, and I'm glad that they are. It looks like they are hearing the message from the players. The final issue is the micromanagement. There's a lot of micromanagement in this game, and I certainly was overwhelmed when I got to the end game. And thankfully there are ways to deal with that. You can use something called Sector AI. Some people say that the Sector AI in the game is not good. I would say that it's good enough. It will get you through the game. If you want to play a game on default settings with Iron Man, so you get achievements, and take over an entire galaxy, you can do it using Sector AI. I did it with Sector AI managing my economy for the most part, and the only 2 areas I really had problems were in the beginning of the game and at the end of the game. In the beginning of the game, Sector AI was sort of trying to find its balance, I guess I would say, or I was working with Sector AI and we were trying to figure out, I don't know, you'll run at a deficit. You might run into some deficits, but trust me, if you just let it do its thing and you sort of adjust your playstyle a little bit, it will create sort of a well-balanced, averaged-out economy, and it's very flexible, and that allows you to go in a lot of different directions with your gameplay, which is super cool. When you get to the mid-game, it's awesome. It's no problem. You're going to have plenty of pretty much anything that you need, and if there's something that you're lacking in, it's pretty easy to fix it. It just takes a little bit of input on your part and just selecting which building to build next, for example. Sector AI will give you time to choose which building you want, and I think that's actually kind of a good thing. You don't need to always fill a building slot, okay, if you're going to try playing this game. The issue after that is the late game. Planets that Sector AI builds up are not optimized to be self-sustaining in the long run, and that's a bit of a problem. So that's an area where I think the developers can hopefully make some adjustments, where when a planet has no more building slots in it left and no more district slots in it left, maybe allow Sector AI to be able to go in there and assess the situation and determine, hey, is this going to create more unemployment? Is this unstable? Are we going to have lots of crime on this planet? And give Sector AI the ability to make the decision to put in population controls, or to build law enforcement buildings, or to maybe change the housing situation up so it becomes a little more in line with the amount of jobs that are available there, and so on and so forth. Since Sector AI can't handle that itself, you, the player, will need to go in and do those things. And because Sector AI typically builds each planet pretty similarly, the changes that you need to make when you're fixing these planets are also going to become quite similar, and it requires less and less critical thinking on your part as you look at a planet and go, oh yeah, this is just like one of the last ones that we did, and then you can just quickly do the same fixes and then move on to the next one. So it's really not that bad. Anyways, guys, I've talked on long enough. So part of the reason I'm making this video is because I just published my very first mod ever for a video game. This is the most time I've ever invested into making a mod, as I've never made a mod before, and it's up there for download for the game. It's called Actual Reanimated Armies, and it works with the Necroids patch. Necroids adds these kind of like undead characters to the game, and they have this special civic that they can pick called Reanimated Armies, which doesn't really do what I was hoping. I was hoping that it would, actually reanimate armies to fight for you, but it didn't. So I created a mod that does that. So with this mod, you can hire necromancers to fight for you and lead your armies to victory, and every time they are victorious in killing defending armies and taking over a planet, the necromancer will resurrect the fallen enemies and turn them into undead armies that fight under his control. Yes, so anyway, I'm looking forward to trying the mod out. I decided before I do that, I really got to make a video and tell you all about it. Go ahead and check it out, or not, up to you. Either way, thanks for watching everybody. This is Flying Scorpion, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.